Twin City Pioneers in the house, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
TwinCities.com.
Nice.
Yeah.
Guys want to ask questions?
Quick statement, thank you.
Opening statement, you want one? Thank you for coming. It's been a really fun year. Obviously, didn't end the way we'd hoped, but super proud of the guys, the coaches, the entire organization. And again, it's always painful when the season doesn't end as the last team, but I thought we accomplished a lot this year. We continue to build off a really strong foundation, and I'm super excited for next season. Thanks, Dan. Thank you.
Tim, how do you balance kind of like what everything the team went through this year to get as far as it did with just the way that it ended, maybe even in Game 5 there, and just kind of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can take one game and put too much emphasis on it. I mean, I think Game 4 was a statistical anomaly. There was something like teams like 160-0 when they did all the things we did, and unfortunately, we were the team that broke the streak. So I think what we've continue to focus on is the day-to-day approach and then the ability to get better and better. We closed the year as hot as any team. It was really challenging with every game being so meaningful to ensure we were out of the play-in. And then I thought, we showed a lot of maturity and growth in the playoffs. It was a group that a lot of new faces, and a lot of new faces had a huge impact. So I think you got to take the emotion out of it a bit and see on a whole how was the season. And on the whole, we're pretty proud of the year we had. Not happy with it, not content by any stretch, but pretty happy with how the guys competed and where we got.
With your contract situation, just what do you see for your future here with Minnesota?
I mean, as long as Twin City Pioneer Press is here, no. No.
Yeah.
No, super happy here. It's been great. It's not just as working with the team, but just the whole community, so it really feels like home. I think you guys are stuck with me.
What about roster retention? Do you think, you've managed to shake it up previous periods? What about now?
I mean, you're always just guessing, right? I don't know. I mean, until you win it all, you got to be very self-critical and look for areas where you can improve upon. We just finished the draft workout. This time of year is especially active because of the draft precludes free agency, so it's really one of the biggest transactional windows we have. We feel very happy with the core we have. We don't feel like there's a tremendous pressure to do much, but until you're raising the trophy, you got to be active and creative as possible to try to get to a point where at some point you're the final team.
What do you need?
We needed 5 more wins would have helped. I think the team kind of grew together as they got to know each other. So I don't know if there's a ton of certain skill sets we need. It's more, I think, kind of the collective maturity to be able to play different ways and have every night you're not going to be able to be super productive. So how do we win those games kind of in the mud? We got a bunch of guys who have these huge roles that are starting to get a little bit older. So you always want to have people behind them. So I think there's some positions that potentially could be more of need because of how the present roster is set up.
Julius, so obviously have options and Keel's a free agent. With those 3 in particular, kind of what's the thought process with them and what do you expect to possibly happen going in free agency?
Yeah, the goal is to keep everybody. And what's neat is the players are all very happy here. They love the coaching staff. They love the teammates. They love the community. So when the player wants to be here and the team wants to have him back, there's always room for optimism. Certainly these guys have finite windows to earn a lot of money. So we're very appreciative of what the market might look like, but we're pretty cautiously optimistic that we're in a good place with all the guys. And again, most importantly, they want to be here.
So if you've talked to you about the second apron and kind of the difficulties that they're in with being a second apron team, is it safe to say that you guys want to be below that, ideally moving forward, maybe a first apron team, just because of all the roster restrictions that come with being a second apron?
Yeah, I think optimally you can dip your toe in, but you don't want to be there too consistently because it just gets so punitive. And it's not just super expensive. And we had great ownership this year that was allowed us to spend a lot of money. But it's so restrictive with deal making. So how can we ensure that we're as nimble as possible? So I wouldn't say it's a steadfast, we're definitely going to be out of it. But if we're going to be in it, we're going to be in it for a good reason.
Tim, you reshaped your roster, obviously, with the Carl Julius Dante trade. But you've also kind of reshaped your financial structure all over, to Chris's point. You also made the Rudy extension before the season started. How have all those things kind of interplay to restructure your financial sort of setup?
Yeah, I think, with the relatively new CBA, we were, like all the teams, kind of learning on the fly. So some of those deals that were on the books were done prior to the new the new ratification of CBA. So we certainly, and last year was the first year we kind of tried to transact in that second apron, was really challenging. So, you're trying to win, and you're also trying to allow yourself to build sustainable winners. So I think all those things were done in unison. And fingers crossed, our ability to be a little more flexible financially could serve us well this offseason.
How have you seen just the global market of the whole league sort of evolve? I mean, back when you started being a GM, it was like cap space was a thing. Nobody has cap space anymore. And trades, as you've made a couple, have been big player for player. Like, how has that changed being a general manager, president of basketball operations?
I think it's a great question. I think the one thing that was unexpected, and I think largely unintended, was the inability for all teams to transact. I think where we struggle, organization, we've shared this, shared these issues with the league, is it shouldn't be 30 teams are going to be impacted by every potential. You're going to be a first ape or second ape, and you have to do this or that. So I think it largely slowed down the offseason last year in terms of big trades. And I do think, look, there should be a punishment if you spend over a certain amount. It's great because you don't want these teams just spending at the hills and not having any ability for some of these smaller market teams to win. But we've struggled sometimes. You're down the line with a trade, then the impact it has on a team that doesn't have a big payroll. So we're learning. It's really our second full year kind of transacting this level. But I do think perhaps for the good of the league, a bit more flexibility across all teams might be helpful.
Do you think you would have made a trade if you weren't in the second apron and had those restrictions? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't say that for certain because that'd be disingenuous, but I would say the issue is not just inherent or internal. Sometimes you're down the line and then a team that has, it's not even a tax team, well, it's going to make us this level team, so we can't do that. So I'm not sure that was really the spirit of the document, and it is what it is, and we'll all deal with it. But I do think at times it's a bit overly restrictive.
Tim, we see the best teams right now seem to have really formed identities, and they're usually centered on their best player. Seeing who Anta is and probably who you think he's going to be for these next few years, what do you see as like the best identity of an Ant-led team moving forward?
I think competitiveness, toughness. I know it sounds cheesy and cliche-ish, but that's who he is. I think the greatest thing that the compliment we give Anthony right now is just how much he's won at such a young age, especially coming into a team that hadn't enjoyed much success in the years prior and get number one overall pick. Two-way players, certainly. I think the strides he made this year, for obviously beyond the arc, the ability to more quickly read different defensive situations. The sky's the limit. We think he's going to be one of the best players of all time. We think he's on that track. This summer will be even more challenging for him as we raise the bar, not just personally, but collectively as a team. But I think with Anthony, his ability to play on both ends kind of mandates that you got to play on both ends.
Tim, when you talk about making moves, maybe the biggest moves when Julius decided that he's going to give it up for the team during the year. How much do you look at that? And how much do you try to impact or influence a player like that, where convincing him what he could be and how the team could be better is a piece of the general manager job maybe gets overlooked?
It's not my job. It's a collective job, and we got the best coaches in the league. So the hardest thing, these guys are all supremely talented, and if given different roles, all these guys could score 20 points a game. If we have 10, 11 guys who said, here's the ball, score 20 points a game. But how do you do that in a winning structure, and how do you do that in a way that's complementary to the other four guys on the court? And what Julius deserves all the credit for is he realized how he can be most impactful to the team's success, and he really dove into that with his playmaking, with his ability to draw two in the post. I thought he was a very underrated isolation defender, and his overall toughness and positivity. So it's just a huge testament to him and our coaching staff that they kind of figured out a role that would be most conducive to his personal success and certainly our team's success.
Rob, you made obviously an aggressive move last year to get Rob. He was in and out of the rotation, not there lately. Finch was talking about how there's a big opportunity in front of him this summer and into next season. What are you looking for out of him in the offseason to maybe seize a more of a role next year? Yeah, it's hard to play when you're a young player on a good team. So we kind of, our team was different after we made the Dante and Julius acquisition, but he was in the gym this morning working on his game. I think we have a handful of young guys who are pretty convicted, are clearly rotation players. And how do they go beyond that? How do they grow into real core pieces? I think Rob's toughness, his quickness, and certainly he does something that
not a lot of people do. He can create easy shots for others and himself. So it's going to be a huge offseason for him. It's not easy to break into our rotation, which is a good thing. We don't want to hand guys minutes. We want to be a team that's difficult to get on the court. I think our young guys are up for the challenge, and I think several of them showed enough this year in the spurts that it's reason to be pretty encouraged by next season.
Tim, how much discussion with Mark and Alex have you had yet about where the payroll can land and how that might affect your summer?
Yeah, we've talked a lot. It's these guys have been at I don't think Alex missed a playoff game, so constant conversation about not just that evening's game, but what we look like this summer, what we look like 2 or 3 years down the line. So it's been fun. Again, we've been very fortunate to have really good ownership. Glenn and Becky, Mark and Alex, we've been kind of spoiled, but those conversations have been ongoing, and certainly it'll be fun to really game plan now that the season's over.
Tim, you mentioned wanting to raise the bar internally. What do you mean by that?
Keep playing. We want to. It's a huge accomplishment to be a Final Four team back-to-back years. I think we view the ability to be a Final Four team as a real puncher's chance to win it all. I think the more at bats you have, the better. But how can we push back? We're the same place this year as last year, which is great, but it's not where we want to be. So where are these areas we can improve upon? Where did we shoot ourselves in the foot? Certainly in the Oklahoma City series, it was turnovers, right? So every year, I think it's really important to take a step back and be appreciative of all the good things you did. And we did way more good than bad, but also be honest. Okay, to get to that next level and be a Final Two team and hopefully the final team, where are the areas that we got to get it better in?
To that end, how do you balance continuity and thinking this group can maybe get over the hump with some internal improvements versus, hey, we need to go out and do something big again?
Given my druthers, I'm always kind of erring on the side of continuity. I think patience in professional sports is largely non-existent, and those organizations that can show patience tend to have really high level of success. But patience shouldn't lead to risk aversion. If there's something that we have to shake it up and we think it can make us a better team, we're certainly open to that. But if we returned the core of a team last year, and we made the Cat and Dante trades, so it took us a while, I think, to get acclimated, and we look forward to returning the core next year, and hopefully, go a bit further.
Without getting into specifics, how much have you talked to Julius and Nas agents, and where are you on that? Because it's kind of also a cat and mouse game with the second apron and where things are in terms of what Julius and Nas's position in the market is different than it was 3 years ago.
Yeah, we talk constantly. Especially with Nas, it's neat doing this the second time, really having the relationship where I can say anything to him, he can say anything to me. You got to be honest with guys. We're not trying to win deals. We're trying to build a really good basketball team full of really good guys and reward them for their strong play and who they are as individuals. So those conversations have been constant, all extremely positive. Again, who knows what's going to happen, but we're certain that both sides want the same thing, and generally those things work out.
You think with the Ant and the two-way thing around him, there probably was some defensive regression this year. Did it balance out offensively to an area you're comfortable with, or if you think it needs to get better defensively, how do you do so?
Historically, if you're top 10 efficiency in both, you have a real chance. So we were both. This year, the biggest problem was clutch minutes, right? We were a really, really good 46-minute team, and we struggled mightily in the clutch. So I thought we were a really good defensive team. We weren't as dominant for consistent periods as we were last year, but if you can find yourself in the top 10 of offensive, defensive efficiency, you can kind of look yourself in the mirror and say, hey, we got a real chance to make a run.
Tim, what did you think of the job that Finch did, and just kind of from start to finish?
Great. Finch is great. Our staff is great. Someone's going to smartly hire Mike Honore as head coach soon. I think the greatest attribute of Finch is his ability to he's seen so much. You're coaching in the G League, you wake up, you have 3 new players, coaching in Europe. So his ability to kind of identify how this group can best play at a high level together is as good as anybody I've been around. And, it's not easy what we've tasked him with the last couple of years. Hey, you're going to change everything. Here's Rudy. And then last year coming off a 56-win team, here's 2 new faces, and we're going to send out, Carl, who's one of the best players ever played here. So it's just a testament to his intelligence, his ability to be creative, and his willingness to coach any group you put in front of him.
Tim, you guys have 17 and 31. You also already have depth. It's a kind of a rare position to be a conference finals team and have picks and have that depth there. How do you see those things all playing together of restocking, young players as well. So maybe using those picks as assets and trades.
We're wide open. If we can add a clear rotation piece using those picks, we'd be all over it. We're also very encouraged and excited about the guys that are going to be there. We don't see a lot of separation between 17 and 31. And I think, again, with a team like ours, you saw this year with Shannon, Clark, and Dillingham in particular, and Josh, where they had moments where they were productive and played well. Then there was extended periods where they didn't have any role. Doesn't mean we're any less excited about them. So I think the new reality we're facing financially is you need to always have the cupboard stocked with talented players. We're pretty convicted about the type of person we want here. I think I know we have a room full of really, really good guys. So if we stay at 17, stay at 31, there's no expectation they're going to make an instant impact because we think we have some young guys in the gym right now that can probably a step ahead of them. But the more good players you have, more good guys you have, the better you are, not just for in-season depth, but for flexibility, whether it be trades or whatever it may be.
Tim, you talk about the puncher's chance thing. We've seen the last few years there's like a difference between capable of making a run and capable of winning the title. If OKC wins at Boston last year. Does that change the way you view things at all? Of like, okay, there's a clear championship contention, and then there are teams that can make conference finals runs that we've seen. There have been more sneaky ones of those, but maybe not as much.
Not really. I would probably disagree, respectfully. I think there's years when the team that win the championship's not the best team. Their number came up, the matchups were favorable, or there's an injury here or there. I'm pretty aligned to if you're a Final Four team. Now we want to be a home court playoff team. Generally, that's pretty important as well. You can win a championship. It's obviously Oklahoma City with 68 wins. They're a great team, and it's going to be a great finals. The Pacers at some point were 10 and 15, so I don't know if people view them as a championship level team, but they play like a championship team for the last 3-4 months. So I think we're in that conversation, but until we win it, we can't be really part of the conversation. But I do think we have championship DNA. I know we have championship level players, especially highlighted by Ann, and our coaching staff is certainly capable of it. So it's hard to say you can do it until you did it, but I think we have a lot there that should allow us to do it.
Tim, it seems like just from the outside perception, it's going to be a busy offseason. A lot of big names could be potentially on the move. Just how does maybe some of the dominoes that might have to fall league-wide affect where this team falls in that mix?
Yeah, it's funny. Someone asked me that. Our calls have been pretty quiet, so maybe it's just the offseason's not quite here yet. But I don't know. I think kind of to Dane's earlier question, I think the reason that might be more challenging than it was 3 or 4 years ago because of these new apron rules. So I don't think it's going to be that seamless for these guys making $45, $50, $55 million to be traded. It's certainly not one-to-one. But like anything, it's a players' league. Great players can determine where they want to play. And it'll be interesting to see if those things come to fruition. And certainly there'll be ripple effects felt throughout the league.
You shouted out turnovers as an issue. You did it right around this time last year. What can be done with this team to make the turnover issue much less?
Well, I think some of it is probably the same answer I had last year. Some of it is when you're that reliant on a 22-year-old, now 23-year-old guy to have the ball all the time. There should be some expectations of turnovers. But I think for us, it's the type of turnovers. We got in a lot of trouble in the postseason. Up the court turnovers led to easy baskets, essentially pick 6 interceptions. So how do we game manage better? So I think the turnovers are part and parcel of some of the issues we had late in clutch situations. And that's just, it sounds like a cop-out answer, but that's just wisdom and seeing more basketball. So I think some of it will come with just natural maturation, specifically of Ant and Jaden.
Do you ride Ant and let him mature, or do you bring in somebody like a Mike, only and maybe younger, who can help with that load?
We're either going to win or lose with Ant. It doesn't mean we're not always trying to look for complementary skill sets that can help him reach his, what we think he can be. But we're either going to win a championship or not get there on the backs of Anthony. And the greatest thing is he embraces that responsibility. He's such a positive teammate. Obviously supremely talented, but I think there's nobody in the league that we could choose that is more ready for that level of responsibility.
Tim, how do you feel about your point guard situation right now?
Feel good. Yeah, I think obviously Mike's getting a little bit older. I thought Nikhil gave us really good minutes. I thought Rob, when he was given the opportunity, was pretty impressive with his ability to create easy opportunities, easy baskets. It was fun to see some of the young guys this year. We're not always the despite having some really young legs in the starting lineup, we're not always the best fast break team. It was fun to see some of these young guys inject some a little more fast break basketball. But you're always trying to get better. You know, I think when you're lucky enough to have a guy as good as Anthony, you got to constantly challenge yourself. Every position's got to constantly be up for evaluation.
How much does Julius' situation affect Nas and vice versa? Nas indicated to us that he felt like he maybe was ready for a starting role at Julius opts, and is there a pathway for both of these guys to remain on the roster next year?
Yeah, again, I would tell you if I was optimistic even if I was lying to you, but we're pretty optimistic. Those guys are really, really good players who play really well together. They really like the coaching staff. I mean, Nas is a cult hero here for good reason. So, we have nothing but positive indicators that both these guys will be in Wolves jerseys next season.
You mentioned Jaden a little bit ago. Just with how he played in the playoffs and closing the season, is there a bigger expectation in his role next season?
Yeah, not just the playoffs. I thought when we were banged up in the middle of the season, I mean, you saw the guy that we joke, I'm always on about rebounding. And he started rebounding this year. And now we joke, it was just that simple, just to yell at you to rebound more. I think the sky's the limit. I think he's one of the best young players in the NBA. His mid-range game is unbelievably underappreciated. His ability to get shots. Obviously, his last 2 years, his numbers in the playoffs are reflective of a guy that's not scared of the moment. And defensively, there's not a better young defensive wing in the NBA. So he's already a really, really good, but we think he has a chance to be great.
And you mentioned Rob and TJ get drafted before you make the Julius and Dante trade. How complicated, was that? I'm sure you had a different vision for those guys with a different roster. And how did you navigate that over there?
I mean, we have we have a planning meeting right now. We plan, and then you get a call, and the plans are out the window. So it's, I think the best plan is to have a pretty good lay of the land, and when you have an opportunity to be aggressive. But the team is constantly evolving. I mean, I'm so proud of. I was talking to Keel the other day. So proud of his development. Right when we got him a couple years ago. Yeah, I don't think any of you guys asked questions about him. Maybe someone did. I don't know. And now, he's one of the really elite two-way guards in the league. So the one certainty is the uncertainty. But I'm pretty into the idea of just having as many good guys, as many good players, and the 8 or 9 guys or 9 or 10 guys the coach wants to play are there. Then certainly depth with injuries. I thought, and Jaden made that big jump because we were down a couple guys, but. I don't think you can be too dogmatic with roster building because you get a call and it changes dramatically. And again, I think the more good players you have, the more good problems you have.
Do you think that you get a veteran, when you've had success like this, there are veterans that will look at it and say, there's my chance to play for a ring, and I can go with Anthony Edwards and assume a role, and I don't need the maximum amount of money. Do you anticipate getting calls?
We'd love to get those calls. Yeah. Put the word out. Any good veterans out there would like minimum contracts. I know. I mean, yeah, certainly what is neat the last couple of years is we've had conversations we've unsolicited conversations with guys that want to come play here. And that's to Ant, that's to Finch, that's for Jaden and Rudy and Mike. It's a testament to this, not just the players, but the market. I think the guys who are here now have all been just shocked how much they enjoy living here and how much they enjoy raising kids here. So yeah, we're probably in conversations now that we couldn't have had 2 or 3 years ago.
Tim, you guys and the Knicks both made the conference finals. Just like looking at that trade in totality, just how do you kind of evaluate it almost a year out from making it and how it worked out?
Yeah, I think it was a win-win. I mean, it's funny. I text with Kat. I probably get more emotional watching their games than our games because it's Kat had such a great playoffs and had such a great year in New York. But I'm not a believer in there's one winner and 29 losers. I think too often that's the narrative that we all run with. I told that to our team after the game. The Knicks had a best year they've had in 25 years. So it was really fun to watch. Obviously, it's just fun to watch a great guy do really well. And I think if you'd asked either front office last year, hey, worst case scenario, you're going to lose in the conference finals, I think, we'd have probably taken it, even though we both have higher aspirations. But it was fun to watch. It was fun to see all the guys in the trade do well, and they're all really, really good guys.